So, coming from a GeekWire, data centers at sea. How the hell do you say that? Panthalassa nets $140 million led by Peter Thiel for wave-powered AI data centers. And I'm going to say something that is going to shock you. You're going to be like, no, Eli did not just say that. But it's true. This actually seems like a pretty darn good idea. It's what we can have sanity and in regards to infrastructure in the modern world. Come on now, it's 2026. That's not allowed. So yeah, we've heard the whole stupidity with AI data centers for about the past 2 years now. And it just keeps getting stupider and stupider and stupider and stupider, right? Now we have AI data centers that are being measured in the numbers of Manhattans that would fit inside of them, which is absolutely ridiculous. We have SpaceX, whose real value is launching AI data centers into space because, yeah, Wyoming doesn't exist. Wyoming isn't real. But anyways, we've been seeing a lot of just weird stuff with these AI data centers. One of the interesting things that's come up lately is I did a video talking about China, and China is putting a data center under the water. So I think outside of Shanghai, they 6 miles out to sea, they built this big old data center and put it under the water. And that's kind of an interesting idea, but one of the arguments that I make with that kind of thing is that means now if you have to go troubleshoot anything, you now have to get in a boat, sail out 6 miles to go to your data center, to get in the data center, to fix anything. And it's just like, oh my golly, you just look at all these AI data center options and you're like, what the hell? When I was a kid in the 1980s and I was watching Back to the Future 2, I had no idea our technology plans would be this dumb. This dumb. But anyways, I think this is kind of an interesting idea because it takes a lot of the good concepts that are out there from space-based data centers and the ocean and all that kind of stuff and puts that into a product that makes half an ounce of sense. And so basically what these data centers are is these are data centers that are just going to go out in the middle of the ocean and bob around. So the idea is that they're going to be powered based off of ocean energy, right? So one of the big things with putting data centers into space is that they can get energy 24/7 because of those big ass solar panels you also have to launch into space. So anyways, with these things, you just throw the damn things in the ocean in a place that's relatively active, and they're going to be moving around, and basically you put in components that are able to take that energy and turn it into electricity. So that actually makes a lot of sense. 24/7 power, just like you would get from outer space. The other thing that's interesting with this is that it does seem to be relatively self-contained. So with the data centers that China is producing out in the ocean, one of the things that I talked about before is I highly question whether or not that's a good idea, but one of the interesting things that Microsoft did is a number of years ago, they put data centers onto the ocean floor. But when they put data centers onto the ocean floor, they basically sealed everything up and just dropped into the ocean, so on and so forth. What they found is the return on investment wasn't nearly as good as they thought it was going to be. Right, there's a whole bunch of problems with putting everything into a container and dropping it in the ocean. But one of the lessons that they did learn is they did find out that the real danger to data centers is geeks. Seriously, that was literally part of the white paper. What they found is since these data centers were entirely self-contained and no geek was allowed to get into it, basically what they found is the performance of the data center and the reliability of the systems within the data center actually went up. So their concept there was that you have a whole bunch of full redundant computers, not just like redundant power supplies or whatever else, right? You put all of these computers essentially into a cluster. And so when computers start failing, whether it's the processor, whether it's the RAM, whether it's the storage, anyways, a computer simply starts having a problem, you shut it off. But the thing is you've put enough extra capacity within that data center, so as you're shutting computers off over the years, you still have enough capacity to do whatever it is that you need done. And what they said is they found out the reliability of the systems went up because, geeks. Because if you have a normal data center, think about this, you have a normal data center, server fails. 1 year, 2 year, 2 year, 4 year server fails, right? You get your little signals up on your single pane of glass. You're like, oh, XYZ system went down. Hey, Bob, go fix it. And so Bob goes down, right? Starts looking, the server looks at everything. Okay, everything seems to be okay. And then they pull it out of the rack, right? It's on rails on the rack, so they pull it out. Now here's the problem. When they're pulling it out, on the back end, where you got your whole little cable management system set up, yeah, like the cable management between the different levels, somehow got too close together, so that when you pulled this server out, you unplugged the server that was above it. So now this server is down and that server is down. So now you got to troubleshoot 2 servers. And then as you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on with that, right? You're like, oh, okay. And then you go back and you're trying to trace wires. And so you do that. Okay, that's the right wire. That's the right wire. That's the right wire. And then you pull the wire. Oh, it's the wrong wire. That's how it works, right? That's the real world. Anyways, and so basically what they found out, shockingly, is if you keep the geeks out of the data center, your data center stays up and running more often. So that was one of the things. And so what's interesting here, right? Okay, so you take this wave-powered data center, so 24/7 power. You basically make it self-contained, so you design the entire data center with a life expectancy, and then you can drop it out in the ocean. The nice part is when you drop it out in the ocean, it doesn't really have to be tethered to anything other than maybe an anchor, so it doesn't wander all over the place. And the nice part there is then you don't have the logistics of running fiber cables or being limited to where your data center can be. So think about this with the Shanghai data center, right? It's 6 miles out of the ocean. But you gotta think, how far do you really want to be running your power, or for them it's wind power, but your fiber cables or whatever else? That's a pain in the ass. The nice part about this is it's just its own little self-contained thing that's bouncing around, and you just dump it wherever it is. Now, when you're thinking about this, you're like, well, but Eli, there's not a fiber line to it, right? So what about bandwidth? Because a big thing we have to think about with data centers or any technology is where is the bottleneck gonna be? RAM, storage, CPU, GPU, bandwidth. So you think about AI data centers, you go, wow, they're gonna need bandwidth. But here's an interesting question. How much bandwidth do they really need? Is bandwidth, in general, the bottleneck for an AI data center? Right? You put in text, even a million token context window, right? The Lord of the Rings trilogy plus a couple of books, all being sent into the data center. That's still just a lot of text. How many kilobytes of text is that really? It's probably not a lot, right? And when it spits out the response, it's also not going to be very much. The reality is the real resource consumption for an AI data center, it's got to be the GPUs. The GPUs are going to be the major resource consumption. And I got to say that the bandwidth, probably isn't going to be too bad. The other thing to be thinking about too is you put these things out in the ocean, like what about latency or whatever else? But especially if you're running these AI systems and they're not real time, like it's not like a voice over IP call or something like that where like anything over 200 millisecond latency and everything goes to hell. Right, if you can have one of these data centers and it's processing, and I don't know, you get 1,000 millisecond latency, right? If you're saying, hey, tell me where to bomb on this map, I'm not really gonna care if it takes an extra second to get their response back. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, how much product should I buy for my companies or for my stores next week? Again, I'm not gonna care if there's an extra second in latency or whatever else. And so that's the other thing to be thinking about is like, what are you actually processing? So this, Eli has found a technology in the age of artificial intelligence that he can just not be very snarky about. This is a day that shall live in history. So anyways, I don't know. I think this is a good idea. If we take a look at this, again, from GeekWire, wave energy had largely been bobbing around the background of the U.S. Clean energy sector until now. On Monday, Oregon-based, Panthalassa announced a $140 million round led by Peter Thiel. The new funding from the PayPal co-founder and others will allow the startup to finish building its pilot manufacturing facility near Portland. Panthalassa is developing technology that pairs wave power generated by massive floating orbs with on-site AI computing. The systems transmit data via low Earth orbit satellites. So basically, again, you have this thing bobbing around in the ocean, and then when it needs to, receive data or send data, and it goes up through satellites. Quote, we've built a technology platform that operates in the planet's most energy-dense wave regions, far from shore, and turns that resource into reliable, clean power, said Garth Sheldon Coulson, the co-founder and CEO, in a statement. Quote, we're now ready to build factories, deploy fleets, and provide a sustainable new source of energy for humanity. Yeah, okay, well, fair enough. Founded in 2016 as a public benefit corporation, Panthalassa has spent nearly a decade developing power generation, propulsion, autonomous operations, and computing technology. That work has included prototypes, Ocean 1, Ocean 2, and Wave Hopper, deployed in sea trials in 2021 and 2024. The company is now preparing to deploy its Ocean 3 pilot series this year, with commercial systems planned for 2027. So there you go, boys and girls. If we can survive 2026, maybe 2027 will actually be a year that is halfway sane. So I guess this is what the whole thing looks like. So that little ball, that's what you see at the top of the ocean, and then you have this long thing that's just bobbing along in the ocean, creating the power, powering the data center and the whole 9 yards. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And then the cool part about this too is, all right, you put it out there, your depreciation cycle, whether it's 3 years, whether it's 20 years, whatever, right? You get to the end, right? You get to the end of it doing whatever it's supposed to be doing. You can then drag this. You can just send a ship. You don't have to go to space. You can just send a ship. You can grab this thing, drag it back into dry dock, rehab it for whatever the next data center needs to look like, and ship the thing back out of the ocean. This makes a hell of a lot more sense than space, boys and girls. As I've said many times, with these whole AI data centers, there's Wyoming. And as I say, there's Wyoming. I've got to say, that's a little prejudice. We also have the ocean. Well, the ocean is like 2/3 of the space around the planet that we frankly don't use, right? We don't put farms in the ocean. We don't build condos on the ocean. There's no NIMBYism in the ocean. You can just dump a metric crap ton of these data centers in the ocean, and makes a lot of sense. So there you go. I know, probably disappointed you. Some of you right now might almost be at the edge of tears. Like, this is not what I come to Eli the computer guy for. I come to Eli the computer guy to hear how stupid the world of technology is. He can't be happy. What's wrong? What's wrong? He's happy. Ridiculous. But as I've said many times before, I'm only snarky about stupid ideas. Eli, why are you so snarky? Because this is a very stupid time period. This is a shockingly stupid time period for the tech sector. Doesn't have to be that way. It just simply is. So anyways, what do you think about this? Do you think these make more sense than about every other damn thing you've seen up until this point in time? Right? 24/7 power, self-contained thing, chuck the damn thing out there in the ocean, right? But it doesn't have to be really tethered to land. Like when you look at this, is it like, oh my golly, it's like somebody created something and they weren't eating paint chips. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Down below. If you like these episodes, do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.